Marriage and relationships have always been an important theme in horror movies. How much do you really know about the person you share your life with? How long can you endure before someone's true self is revealed? Yes, marriage is a messy, complicated thing. Green Ribbon is a simple yet powerful folk tale that perfectly captures this theme. Alfred and Jenny had known each other since childhood. Jenny was beautiful and delicate, but there was something strange about her. She always wore a green ribbon tied tightly around her neck. Over the years, Alfred kept asking Jenny why she wore the ribbon, but every time Jenny would just smile and say, "I can't tell you that right now." Years passed and Alfred and Jenny grew up. Eventually, they decided to get married. On their wedding day, Jenny looked stunning in her dress, but the green ribbon was still there. Alfred asked again, "Jenny, you can tell me now. Why do you wear that ribbon around your neck?" Jenny gave the same response, "I can't tell you that right now." Throughout their marriage, Alfred asked many more times, but Jenny always gently refused to answer. Still, their love for each other was strong and they lived a happy life together. The years went by and they grew old. One day, Jenny fell ill and became bedridden. She knew her time was coming to an end. With trembling hands, Alfred held his wife's hand and whispered, "Jenny, please, you can tell me now. Why do you wear that green ribbon?" Jenny took a weak breath, looked at her husband with a sad smile, and whispered, "All right, Alfred, you can know now." Alfred slowly reached out, his hands shaking, and untied the ribbon. At that moment, Jenny's head rolled off her shoulders and fell to the floor. It turned out that Jenny had never truly been alive, that her head had been severed long ago, yet somehow had lived from childhood to old age with only a ribbon holding her head in place. There was no explanation for how or why. Maybe Jenny was a zombie. Maybe she was some kind of ghostly vision, spending a lifetime with someone, only to discover they've been hiding a terrible secret all along. It makes you wonder if you ever really knew them at all. At the same time, this story reflects the idea that women are expected to maintain a certain appearance. It hints at the disturbing notion that their bodies may be hiding a secret so horrifying that men could never truly understand it. This chilling tale is one of the most famous stories from Alvin Schwartz's Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark series. With countless variations from campfire stories to Hollywood blockbusters, The Vanishing Hitchhiker has left its mark on popular culture, become one of the most iconic ghost stories of all time. One night, a young man was driving down Hearst Avenue in the rain. The wet pavement reflected the dim glow of the street lights, and the roads were nearly empty. As he approached the north gate at the corner of Hearst and Euclid, he noticed a young woman standing by the side of the road, holding books under her arm and waiting for a streetcar. But he knew the streetcars had stopped running hours ago. The rain was picking up, and her thin coat didn't look like it would keep her very dry. He slowed down, rolled down the window, and politely said, "The streetcars aren't running this late. Would you like a ride to where you're going?" The girl hesitated for a moment, then smiled slightly and nodded. As she got into the car, the young man noticed a faint scent of roses. Her voice was gentle and polite, but there was something distant about it. She gave him an address on Euclid, and they started driving uphill together. Along the way, they talked about school, the weather, and the town's history. Her voice was calm, almost wistful. The young man was struck by how intelligent and cultured she was, but there was a melancholy tone in her voice, like an echo from far away. She kept her eyes fixed on the road ahead. As they reached an intersection, another car suddenly came speeding down the steep hill, heading straight for them. The young man barely had time to react before the girl quickly reached over and pulled the emergency brake. The other car swerved past them and disappeared into the darkness. The young man sat frozen, his heart pounding. He turned to thank her, but she was gone. Stunned, he got out of the car and looked around, but there was no trace of her. He assumed she had quietly slipped out and decided to walk the rest of the way home. Then he glanced at the seat beside him. One of the books she had been carrying was still there. The next day, he took the book to the address she had given him. It was an old, stately house. When he knocked on the door, an elderly man answered. His glasses rested on the bridge of his nose, and he had a thoughtful expression. The young man explained why he had come and recounted the events of the previous night. The old man's face suddenly went pale. his eyes filled with sorrow and in a trembling voice. He said, "That's impossible, because she was my daughter, but she died in a car accident at that very intersection 5 years ago." The young man stood frozen. He looked down at the book in his hands. The old man gently took it in with a deep sigh, murmured, "This was her favorite book." Later, the old man took the book to the university library. He searched the shelves and found where the book belonged, but the spot was empty, as if the book had always been there but had somehow disappeared. The legend of the Vanishing Hitchhiker predates modern highways and headlights. This ghost story has traveled through different roads, from old folk tales to mid-20th century American highways, following a familiar and eerie pattern. Tales of ghostly passengers have been told for centuries, even when the only ride someone could offer was a seat on horseback or a place in a carriage. The spirits of these wandering souls were often said to appear at crossroads or near bridges, places believed to be thin barriers between our world and the spirit realm. By the 1940s, as highways stretched across the United States, the legend resurfaced. Hitchhiking was common, with students, soldiers, and travelers catching rides. Along with them traveled stories of ghostly passengers, some trying to reach the place where they had died, others headed toward a destination they would never reach. Folklorists noted that these stories followed a similar pattern: a hitchhiker, a mysterious disappearance, and a driver left wondering if they had given a ride to a ghost. These haunted highways and deserted roads have kept the legend alive, especially as highways have become a symbol of American culture. The Vanishing Hitchhiker legend may have evolved with modern cars and asphalt roads, but its roots run deep in history, forever tied to a time when the open road symbolized freedom, mystery, and danger.